Hi everybody. Today we are going to be learning how to tie Captain Dave Sadler's Sad Flea. Dave works for the shop. He also guides in Biscayne Bay full time. You can find him under turtlegrasscharters.com, and he uses this fly primarily for bonefish and permit. The size we're going to tie today is on a size 2, and this is the bonefish size. When we go to the permit size, we typically tie it on a 1/0 with some heavier eyes. So let's get started with this today. So we're going to use a Gamakatsu SL12S size 2. We've got some 210 Ultra Thread in fluorescent green loaded up, and we're going to just start getting a base of thread down the hook. And we're going to bring this all the way out to where the bend starts, almost right above the barb. And we'll come back forward and we'll put our eyes on first. So the eyes we're going to use are Spirit River eyeballs. They're brass eyes. They're a little bit longer than your typical eye. And this one's a 5/32. So we're going to start off by making 2 little bumps for the eyes to rest in. Makes it a little easier to tie in. And when you tie this in, you want to apply maximum pressure right off the bat. This will really seal your eye on. So I'm going to go one way, and then I'm going to reverse directions and keep on tying until my eye straightens out. And I really have a lot of pressure on that. My eye is really tough to move at this point. At this point, I'm going to just put 2 parachute wraps right around the base of that. So the next step is we're going to take 3 pieces of crystal flash, pearl, and we're going to tie these on top of the hook shank. This fly rides upside down, so this will actually be on top once this fly is flipped over. So we fold that around the hook, and we'll wrap this back where we stopped our thread. And we'll trim this to about a 1/2 inch or so. Alright, so the next step, we're going to take some ginger marabou. First we'll come forward to the front of the eye, and we're going to take 2 pieces of strung ginger marabou, and we're going to hold them pretty close to the tips, and we're going to extend this out just a little bit past the crystal flash, and we'll put it in right behind the eye, and we're going to go down the body with wraps next to each other. We want a thin body here, an even body I should say, so when we lay down the rest of the fly it'll be nice and even. We'll cut the butts here, and we'll come back and cover those up in a sec. Okay, the next piece we're going to do is we're going to get some light orange chenille. We've already stripped the end off, and we're going to just tie this right in front of the tail that we put in. We don't need a lot of wraps. We're only going to take 2 wraps of the chenille. We're going to just wrap that right at the butt of the tail, and this represents the egg sac of whether it's a crab or a shrimp. Just put a little color on it. Helps let the bonefish find the fly. Alright, once we have that in, we're going to wrap this forward, and at this point we'll wrap our butt sections down of the marabou, and we're going to take the feathers next. The feathers I like to use, it's called dry Fly Rooster Necks. That's kind of the image of what it looks like. And these are nice. These are really inexpensive, and the colors are great. The color I like to use on this fly and most flats fly is called Red Grizzly. So we want to line up 4 feathers total, 2 on each side. And we're going to extend the tips of the feathers slightly, maybe about a third of a length past the tips of the marabou. So I like to start these on top of the hook. Once you have it secured, we'll go ahead and trim our butt sections of the feathers. And then as you wrap towards the back of the fly, you just want to pull these feathers down. If they're pointed up a little bit, not a big deal. This fly will ride hook up and these will eventually point up. So we're going to go right up to the base of the orange chenille. I'm just going to line up my pieces a little bit better. All right, next thing I'm going to do is take some medium-sized tan ultra chenille. I'm going to tie this in right in front of the orange butt chenille. I'm going to wrap forward. I'm going to wrap all the way up to the eyes. We like the green head on this fly, so we're actually going to tie this off right behind the eyes. And with this, we'll just wrap it forward. One wrap right next to each other. Not a long body. And I typically like tying this on top. And I really like wedging it in between the eyes. And this one I will use the rotary feature just to make sure I'm not tying it too far in the rear of the chenille. At this point, we'll cut it off. And we're just going to make some figure 8 wraps just to cover that piece that's in between the eye right there. Again, we want to make sure we don't go too far back with our thread on the bottom and cover our chenille. All right, once you're happy with the coverage, we'll move to the front of the eye and we'll put some weed guards on. So this is 20-pound mason. I've already flattened out the base so you could tie it in. It almost looks like a hockey stick. And I'm going to put it right in front of the eyes. I'm going to put it at almost at a 45-degree angle from where the center of the hook is. So I do one side and I'll come over and do the other side. Once I've gotten that, I'll put a few wraps behind them. At this point, I'll whip finish in front of the weed guard towards the back of the head. Next step is I'll just cut my weed guards. I usually cut them about halfway between the hook point and the barb of the hook. I'll cut one, bring them together to match them up, cut the other. And the last thing I like to do with the flies that have weed guards is I'll just put one small drop of Zap-A-Gap right in between the weed guard, just to seal it in there, give it a little bit extra durability. So that's Dave Sadler's Sad Flea. Great for bonefish, either in Biscayne Bay or the Bahamas. And hope you enjoyed this lesson.